This is the captain speaking. Buckle up. It's gonna be a grumpy ride. It's the Grumpy Stew Podcast. Oh, yeah.
You ever notice nobody has a neutral opinion about Spirit Airlines? Nobody's like, yeah, it was fine. It was okay. No, it's always like, I saved $38, but I lost part of my soul. Spirit was the only airline where the ticket price felt like it was, negotiable. You'd book a flight for like, $15 or something, and by the time you added a seat, a bag, breathable air, you're just like, okay, this is just Delta, but with, trust issues. Listen, we all joke about Spirit, and they are frequently a punching bag. And by the way, I flew on Spirit once. It was an interesting experience. It was like, the seat was like sitting in a bucket, and my knees were up by my ears. There's no Wi-Fi. But you know what? I lived, and I made it home, and they bailed me out when I couldn't get home on my own airline. But here's the thing. This one's kind of a big deal because Spirit didn't just have a bad day. They hit a 35,000-foot wall.
It's the Grumpy Stew Podcast.
Welcome to the Grumpy Stew Podcast. Today we're cruising at altitude physically, but stuck at the gate emotionally. This is episode 57. And today we got to talk about Spirit and what happened, why it happened, and why this actually matters. I will add that, this episode, the audio will be available on YouTube, but I won't be on camera this time. I'm literally sitting here reading notes because this one's kind of important. No one wants to watch me read notes, but, keep in mind, I don't have an MBA, okay? This is not what I studied in school. I'm going to do the best I can, but I'm going to go over what broke, why it broke, and what happens next. And hopefully I don't fuck it up too badly, but I'm sure someone will let me know. So if I do fuck it up, please, by all means, I like to learn new things too. So let's start here. Spirit wasn't just an airline. It was a business model. You've heard of the ultra low-cost carrier, the ULCC, which basically means we'll get you there for cheap, but we're going to make you feel it. The formula was simple. It was super low base fares, charge for everything else, and pack the plane full to the tits and make money on volume and the add-ons. And for a long time it worked because people will tolerate a lot. Americans are cheap. And if the price is right, they'll put up with some shit. But things started to break. Costs went up. Fuel went up. Labor went up. Maintenance went up. And here's the problem. You can't run a cheap airline when nothing is cheap anymore. And customers got a little less tolerant because of the encroachment of the basic economy product from the other big three airlines. We'll get to that part. But at some point, people started thinking, yeah, I saved some money, but, I also hated everything about this. And that line, it moved. People were willing to put up with a lot less. But here's one of the nails in the coffin. The big airlines adapted, as I've alluded to earlier. Delta, United, American. They saw what Spirit was doing, and they didn't ignore it. Instead, they got competitive. They introduced basic economy, lower fares, but a better experience. So now the choice became, do I save a little money or do I not hate my life for 2 hours? It was, sure, it's $89 plus, whatever it is for the bag and then $4 for the drink. Now it's basically a basic economy ticket on a big airline. And then the demand shifted. After COVID, travel exploded, but differently. It became more intentional, more selective. People were willing to pay more for comfort, which is not great when your entire brand is, we are aggressively cheap. Now, here's where everything accelerates for Spirit. The JetBlue merger. This wasn't an option. It wasn't the plan. Spirit agreed to be acquired. That meant for them stability, some financial backing, and a way out of the abyss. Then the government stepped in. The DOJ challenges the deal, saying removing Spirit removes lowest price competition. And they had a point because they feared that removing that bit of competition would cause airfare to go up for everybody else. But here's where people get this wrong. A lot of people say, well, the Biden administration killed Spirit. That's not accurate. Yes, the DOJ brought the case, but the decision came from a federal judge appointed by Donald. This wasn't partisan. This was, do we protect ultra-cheap fares or allow consolidation? And the court said no merger. And they were concerned about removing the lowest cost competition would inflate prices for everybody else. Well, what do you think will happen going forward with the collapse of Spirit? For JetBlue, this was bad because I think they needed it just as badly as Spirit, perhaps less badly. But for Spirit, it was devastating because now there was no buyout, no safety net, and no exit from the financial distress they were in. That wasn't a deal falling through. It was the lifeboat disappearing in the distance. But after that, things moved fast. Now Spirit has rising costs, weaker demand, stronger competition, no fallback plan. Planes still needed to be full. But to fill them, you drop prices, and that's the trap. You need full planes to survive, but the only way to fill them is to make less money. And once that starts, you're bleeding cash. Now, let's zoom out a bit, because this isn't just Spirit. This is the ULCC model. Spirit, Frontier, same idea. Cheap up front, pay for everything else. And it worked because costs were low, planes were full, and customers just put up with it. They accepted it. But now none of those things are guaranteed. Costs aren't low, customers aren't as tolerant, and competition exists. Now, I can't help but wonder if rising costs everywhere meant that Spirit's bread and butter customer literally could not afford to fly anymore. That $89 plus the fee for the bag just was too much for them. They literally could not afford it anymore. Not even on Spirit. It kind of reminds me of a George Carlin joke. The middle class is getting squeezed. They've been squeezed for years. The poor has just been squeezed out of existence at this point. But the middle class, they're there to do all the work and pay all of the taxes. The rich are there to do nothing, basically. They do none of the work and pay none of the taxes, but the poor are there to scare the shit out of the middle class, keep them showing up for their jobs. But here's the thing. You can't run a cheap airline when the world isn't cheap anymore. Frontier's still out there. Similar model, similar structure, but they've managed things slightly better. But make no mistake, they're playing the same game on the same field. Spirit didn't invent this model. They just hit the wall first. So let's rewind for a second because the bankruptcy piece of their story kind of matters. Spirit filed for Chapter 11, and people hear that and think, okay, they fixed it. No, bankruptcy doesn't fix your business. It gives you a chance to fix it. What Chapter 11 basically does is restructures the debt, helps reduce obligations, and buys time. It's not a reset button. It's a pause. It's a timeout financially. And for Spirit, that mattered because they were already under pressure from rising costs, competition, and a model that just basically wasn't working. So they go through their bankruptcy and they came out leaner. But here's the key. They didn't come out stronger. They came out lighter. And those are not the same thing. They're living on a shoestring. Coming out of Chapter 11, Spirit is basically operating on a knife's edge. They've cut what they can cut. They've reworked what they can. But the environment stayed the same, if not, marginally worse. Fuel was still expensive. It got more expensive later on. Labor got more expensive post-COVID. Competition was aggressive. Margins got thinner. So now you're not just fixing the business, you're trying to survive it. Because when you're in survival mode, every flight matters, every dollar matters, every day matters. You're not building a future. You're just buying time. And then on top of everything else, you get hit with something you don't control. Jet fuel. Donald and his war with Iran caused the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Something like 20-ish, maybe 25% of the world's energy comes out of the Strait of Hormuz. And, just look at your own gas bill when you fill up your car. It's the same for airlines. Their gas bill went up. Jet fuel skyrocketed. And JetBlue simply did not have the margin. And for most airlines, that's a problem. And for the biggest airlines, it's, more manageable, but not for Spirit. It's a crisis because fuel isn't optional. You don't get to negotiate with it. You don't get to, delay your gas. You can't delay, fueling the plane. You have to have fuel in the plane. You either pay for it or the plane doesn't move. And when your whole business is built on being the cheapest, you don't have room for that kind of increase. There's no cushion, no margin, no flexibility. When the fuel spikes, cheap airlines feel it first. Now, stick it all together. You got high labor, strong competition, weaker pricing power, rising fuel costs thanks to a bullshit war. And suddenly the runway gets a lot shorter. Because at the end of the day, airlines don't fail because they run out of ideas. They fail because they run out of money. Money is what makes the world go around. There were discussions about emergency funding, hundreds of millions of dollars just to, keep the lights on, keep things going. I think it was about $500 million as a lifeline. And whether that came from government support, private lenders, outside financing, they needed it. They needed every dollar. It doesn't really matter in the moment where it came from because the only question is, do you get it or not? And when that funding doesn't materialize, that's when the clock runs out. As you all know, it was last week? The government declined to give Spirit a $500 million bailout to help them stay afloat for a little while. And, I'm telling you, this part wasn't theoretical. They had to have it. So it was Friday night, going into Saturday morning. I was working. I was on my way to London. It was about 1-ish in the morning Eastern time. And I started getting alerts on my phone. News alerts about Spirit suddenly canceling flights. And then now there's talk of a complete shutdown by 3 a.m. Eastern time. And you can see all the cancellations on the board. Canceled. And, I was pretty glued to the news. And at first you think, it's natural to think that, maybe it's just, a system glitch. Maybe they have an IT issue and there's a ground stop. But no, that's not what it was. We all knew what it was because, prior to the cancellation starting and the shutdown starting, there was reports of they could shut down at any moment, essentially. No one knew that any moment was Friday night. But that's when it hits. This isn't just a bad night. This was the end of Spirit. Airlines do not shut down in the middle of the night unless something is very, very wrong. And the part that doesn't get talked about enough is what it looks like for Spirit and the people within it. Thousands of employees, pilots, flight attendants, ground crews. And in a matter of hours, everything changed. schedules are gone, flights are gone, jobs gone. And you're just standing there trying to figure out what the fuck just happened. And passengers. Now, I don't really give a shit about the passengers, but same story. Basically, people were stranded, their trips were blown up, and there were no immediate answers. Because when it happens that fast, there is no way things just recover. And this is what people don't understand about the ULCC model. It works right up until it doesn't work anymore. There's no cushion, there's no margin for error. So when something breaks, it doesn't bend, it just fucking snaps. And if you think this is just a Spirit problem, got news for you, it's not. Now, Frontier is the obvious comparison. I haven't checked, but I have a feeling they're not in the best financial shape either. Because on paper, they're basically the same idea as Spirit, the same ULCC with some changes. They're ultra low base fares. They charge for everything else, like air, oxygen mask, if they deploy, life vests, if there's a water landing, stuff like that, just to keep costs low. But there are differences. Spirit went all in on the ULCC model. Lowest fares possible, heavy reliance on fees, almost no flexibility. They lived and died by being cheap, and they stayed extreme. Frontier, they're still playing that game, but they've started to hedge. They've evolved. They have bundles. You can bundle your ticket with your bag. They have tiered pricing. They have slightly broader appeal, but they're still cheap, just not as cheap, but they're trying not to be only cheap. Frontier is trying to soften the edges just enough to survive because they can see what's coming. But make no mistake, they're still built on the same basic foundation, low cost, high volume, thin margins. So if the environment is the problem, they're still exposed to it. And who knows? Frontier could be next. And the fact that Frontier is already adjusting tells you they saw the same storm coming. And for passengers, this matters more than people think. Spirit wasn't just an airline. It was the floor. One of the lowest possible prices in the market. And when that disappears, everything else moves up. Flying will get more expensive for everyone. Spirit didn't collapse because it was chaotic. It collapsed because the system it depended on stopped working. Cheap works until everything around you gets too expensive. And, I have a feeling that the lower end of the flying market has just been completely priced out of flying. And you can build an airline on being the cheapest, but if that's the only thing you are, you don't get a warning when it all ends. If you've ever been stuck on standby refreshing your app like it owes you money, you already knew something like this was coming. Go ahead, hit like, hit subscribe. And if you want more of this, rants, reality, and everything else in between, head on over to thegrumpystew.com. And while you're there, check out the merch store. Because clearly, we're all going to need something to wear when we're stranded. Welcome aboard.